As the popularity of banking apps surges in Nigeria, recent glitches in banks' digital platforms have raised significant cybersecurity concerns. With more Nigerians relying on mobile banking for everyday transactions, cyber threats are becoming increasingly sophisticated, targeting both individuals and financial institutions. The National Information Technology Development Agency reports that cybercrime costs Nigeria an estimated $500 million annually, emphasizing the urgent need for enhanced cybersecurity measures. In light of the recent technical issues faced by several banks in the country, NITDA has initiated efforts to bolster national cyber resilience, including the development of a national cybersecurity policy and the establishment of a cybersecurity incident response team. Joining us this morning for a conversation on how to stay ahead of new cybersecurity threats is the MD/CEO of Suwibatu AB, Paul Opara. Good morning, Paul. Good to have you join us.
Good morning.
In the studio today.
Good morning.
Yeah. You guys are doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start this way. I mean, I know that there's a bit of a plenty that we'll talk about in terms of cyber crimes and cybersecurity. But then you're described as an ethical hacker. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. So I'm more or less like someone that defend instead of just being offensive. But apart from just being, because the hacking usually connotates something that is really dangerous.
You're not a hacker, are you?
No, I mean, like I'm an ethical hacker. But I'm a CEO of Suwibatu AB. So
what do you hack?
Ethically. So I can't say I hack something. Yeah, but I would say like I train people on how to actually protect their security posture and improve their security posture.
All right, so let's kick it off this way. The concerns of many Nigerians this day has to do with the upgrade that many banks, are going through, and then the attendant risks that people are, experiencing. I won't mention any name, but I know that some people have received salaries, for going to 2-3 weeks, but then, it's held up somewhere because the bank is not able to disburse or something because of it. Do you think that this should be a cause for worry for Nigerians, and what can we do really when things like this happen, particularly for those who use only one bank, like they use only one phone, only one bank, and then they are stuck with the bank?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It's a very good question. Yeah, but I will pretend and put my 20-something years experience and try to contextualize this so that everybody can actually understand what is actually happening here. Should we be worried? I would say it's not yet cataclysmic yet, right? But it's we can easily get to that. Let me try and break it down. Then we can, like you said, we have fun. I mean, discussing this. So I called this like 2-3 years ago. Right? And I spoke to a few friends that were part of policy making and that could actually weigh some stuff around it. But I couldn't really see that being implemented. Then I decided to, because Suwibatu, I'm based in Sweden, but I decided to come to Nigeria, to Jakpada. You can call it one of the Jakpada.
You have Jakpada.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is the problem if we try to contextualize it. Yeah, it's like, imagine you have a house, right? You have a house with just one door, one entrance. To mitigate that, it's not that difficult, right? I mean, but then you are faced with a bunch of problems. I mean, you have like bottlenecks because it's just one door, right? Then I'm going somewhere. So if you indulge me for like 2 minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. So now you now have doors with 1 million. I mean, you now have a house with 1 million doors. So now you are faced with what? With 1 million problems. So this is actually what is happening right now within the banking sector, right? I mean, generally within the financial sector. You have when you have one bank, like a central bank, then it's very easy to manage and to administrate. But now you have a bunch of banking and financial institutions in place. Then that creates several different endpoints. So what is this? What is the solution to that? I mean, do you follow me? Like,
yeah, I do. But then, is it about the number of banks or the carrying capacity of banks, as each of the banks as at this time, because all of them are basically growing, particularly the top 5, 6 of the banks. You're not just dealing with, I believe maybe you're not just dealing with 5 million people. All of a sudden, you're dealing with 10 million users. Exactly.
So that's where, so one of the fundamental issues, I think we need to return back to the first principle, right? There are architectural challenges wrong with the way the entire framework is set up, and I will explain that, right? So we have government regulations, we have standard, and we have policies, and industry. They has to be talking to each other, right? Government regulations, policy, and standard. We all need to bring this together and start to talk to each other. And so, if we look at what is actually happening right now, we have created loads of business application, loads and loads of business application. And I was reading a report this morning by National Cybersecurity Council. Yes. And what they said is this. I mean, I think it was published last week. And what they said is this. The offensive is on the rise, while defensive, it's just dwindling. It's stagnated. And how does this actually affect Nigeria as a whole? We now have easy access for hackers now. When I mean hackers, the offensive one, to be able to perpetuate more evils. And this is becoming really, really rampant. Like, you don't really need to have a PhD in computer science to be able to hack any bank. Just you going online and just Google with proliferation of AI, there are tools in place that you can actually use to hack any kind of organization. And it's really, really increasing and very easy to use. So what is the danger in that? Now we have people that can actually defend, but they are not much. They are not much.
That's where people like you come in.
That is where people like us actually come in to be able to, to be able to train people. And I met one fantastic gentleman outside where I was explaining that it's very easy for you to actually destroy something than for you to build it. What we are really suffering right now in Nigeria is this. We do not have enough people to actually defend us. I mean, if you take a house analogy that I gave, if you take that, for example, for you to build a house, you need a bunch of different disciplines to be able. You need civil engineer, you need quality manager, you need all kind of stuff. But for you to bring that house down, you probably need just somebody that has the understanding of how a bulldozer works, and they bring it down. So how does this, we have more people actually right now that are able to destroy something and less people to actually be able to guide.
Protect.
Well, I just want to touch on the banking migration. That is because the reason for this collapse right now, they say it's because of, the banking migration. And they're saying that it's going to continue to happen. And you mentioned something about, the architectural challenges. I mean, could this whole thing have been avoided? That's number one. And number two, when we say they say this banking migration is transferring data from legacy systems to newer ones. When that happens, should it be the case that, people are not able to access their funds? Should it be the case that people are getting more money in their accounts when they are not supposed to have? Should it be the case that people are registering 0 naira in their accounts?
It shouldn't be the case at all. So I've been doing, like, in 7 to different 8 countries, doing complicated migrations and implementation, technical implementation, right? I mean, of course, you could have glitches here and there, but I think there is more that meets the eye here, right? I mean, without mentioning any names, it just suddenly happened that virtually every banks are currently doing upgrade, changing their core banking application. You wonder why, right? I mean, why all of a sudden all the banks are suddenly migrating at the same time? I mean, the problem is this. There's something fundamentally wrong. Like I said, it's not dangerous yet. I mean, when it comes to cyber threat, it's not new. It's not just a Nigerian phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon, right? But what we need to do is to come to the table, bring industry expertise, people in industry, bring policy. Let me indulge me for 1 minute, just 1 minute. So you do have policy. You have policy without controls. It doesn't really make sense. It's more like saying faith without work, right? So we have policy in
Are you
place.
referring to the National Cybercrime Policy of Nigeria?
Yeah, we have. So I have lawyer friends that sends me like every day this.
Yeah, so let's talk about the policy, because the Cybercrimes Act is something I'm very well versed on. Unfortunately, because our cybercrimes law, as we know, before it was amended, is a law that that they used to charge Chioma Okudi in the Erisco Foods case, right? And so you think about the priorities of our cybercrimes policy is that it has been amended, yes, but now our cybercrimes levy has been introduced just a month ago. It was reduced from the 0.05%. It's now been reduced to, I believe, 0.0005 levy, meaning that every single Nigerian is paying a cybersecurity levy right now to prevent cyber crimes. When our policies are being used to charge tomato paste reviewers, right, instead of protecting us from cybersecurity threats, I think you're right to say that it's as though our policy is walking blind, and there's no policies, our cybercrimes protection or cybercrimes prevention policy and standard practice, not just in Nigeria but internationally, seem to live in different universes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think you're very spot on. I think we had like a very fun time discussing when that stuff actually came into practice. But
I want to ask you a question, and I'm happy you brought up the policy, but I want to ask you a question because I do want to clarify this, because I don't want people to be panicked in that people's money might be trapped right now, but it's not due to cybersecurity threats. It's not as though they at risk of being defrauded, or these are just technical issues in terms of architecture instead of cybersecurity issues, like technical issues with the migration, but not as though they are at risk that people are going to run to the banks in the morning due to being afraid that their money is at risk.
So this is very intricate, right? Okay. So I'm going to really be, and it's also very sensitive because we don't want to create panic, right?
Yes.
So I will say very clear, there's no panic, right? But there is something that we need to worry about, which is more from a foundational issues, right? So we can all agree we are not short of intellect in Nigeria. So policy, every week you have new act coming out, new policy coming out. That's something that we are. But there is no corresponding controls to make sure that those policies are implemented. And what do I mean by controls? I mean here in Arise, you probably have some controls in place that probably said you cannot take your laptop and work outside the country. Something like that is a control. So we have a bunch of policy. Where is the implementation?
Implementation.
And it's not when it comes, so like, when it comes to IT, it's not something that you can just produce a bunch of documentation about. There has to be a corresponding measures and mechanism in place to actually cater for that policy. Hence, we just have a bunch of papers, right? We just have good papers, by the way. And don't get me started on other factors that might be relating to that. So when it comes to implementation, we are really lacking. And it's not really difficult. Also, with banking, dually with banking, without mentioning any names, some of them are moving to the local products, which is really commendable, because I've brought this up several times where I had to call some of the people that are very involved to tell them, okay, why are we using, with due respect, like with foreign product, OEM's product, without really adapting it to our reality? Because our reality is different. If we drift a bit to the hacking part, the way that a Mushin or a Kuyi or a Keja hacker would think is different from the way Boston, state of Texas, we reason. So why do we keep just consuming out-of-the-box solution without adapting it to our reality here?
All right, so you're talking about implementation of the policies. I'd like for you to, highlight one aspect of the policy that maybe, I don't know if you have gone through this national cybersecurity policy that has been initiated by NITA. Have you looked at it?
Yeah, it's a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot of pages.
Walk us through that, and can you share with us what you think could be the most important aspect of the policy that should be implemented right away to in order to avoid this sort of technical glitches that we're seeing affecting our banking institution, especially.
Thinking on my feet now.
Yes.
I wish I can give you a silver bullet solution, right? But I will try to do that.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, right? So I think one of the things that we can actually do right now is to start to kind of, I wouldn't really say redesign, but we need to start thinking about the architectural setup of what we have. And there has to be the controls in place. For example, I mean, anyone can just compromise your network and then go ahead and use that network to perpetuate stuff. There is no read through how to actually traceability. There has to be collaboration between the telcos, between, like so I live in Sweden, right? And even if I have the best skills in the world to hack any bank, I would think twice. You know why? And I'm pretty good, right? I would think twice. Why? Because I know there is collaboration between systems that will come and get me. But
after you will have succeeded.
Before I even succeed.
Yeah, but what about all the popular boys that are West? Many of them might be in prison now, but they, millions of dollars that they succeeded. In stealing.
Yeah, you do
through
have
hacking.
So some we. I mean, there is nothing called. I mean, there's no totality in any kind of security. There'll be one or two bridges, right? But what you want to reduce is.
But these guys, they were not one or two bridges. It looked like they knew what they were doing.
But it seems that it's easier to hack now than it was then.
Sort of, isn't it?
It is very easy to hack now. And that was what I was saying. It is very, very easy. I remember, like in the 90s and early 2000s, for you to lay your hand on any hacking tool, it's very esoteric, right? It belongs to just some individuals. But now, 2 minutes, you can generate an injection attack. You can do all kind of stuff through just by prompting any of this large model to be able to perpetuate that.
Okay, so break it down for us in a language that ordinary people will understand. For individuals and then for small businesses. I know that, corporations, government, banks, have the funds to employ people like your good self, employ, ethical workers, like you said. But then for individuals who are constantly, transacting online with their phones, with their iPad, etc., what are the things that they need to look out for? How should they be protected, so that they won't fall victims of hacking?
Yeah, I mean, there are simple security hygiene that one can put in place, like not using public Wi-Fi, for example. I mean, I know there's something very common now.
Even at the airport?
You can, if you use public...
5-star hotels, no?
5-star, then you go with VPN, right?
Okay.
But you're also very sensitive about the kind of sites you access, right? Then you don't really click. I mean, I think we are in an era where we just click and click and click, right? So before you click any link, there are sites that are in place for you to actually check the legitimacy of those links. I will have just said, once you see HTTPS, that is safe, but that is not
anymore.
That's safe anymore, right? Because there are a bunch of things that can be mushroomed into those stuff. So the idea will be careful what you click, right? And also, I've also said it, I think in a different program, that you should be very mindful about your surroundings, how you make your calls, what kind of people, your social media footprint, right? Because majority of all the kind of damage that is perpetuated is through social engineering, right? Someone calling you and telling you that there's a link sent to you through WhatsApp, you should click that link now. And if you don't want to click that link, then they play with your emotion and tell you things that you might be familiar with that will make you believe that is actually true. So there are few tips here and there. But the reason why I am not dealing with those one is because, let's say you know how to flip a switch on and off, but the grid is off. Then your skill is important, but the grid is off. So, which is why I say that. Changing password, using complicated password, doing encryptions. I can keep going now because I work several years as a solution architect and still a solution architect. So I could give recommendation, but I don't think that would be kind of really the main stuff. The main stuff is not to cut the snake in the middle, but to start to have that discussion and following the fundamental principles. That's what I see as and we have solved that. It's not that gloomy. So what we have done with my partner, the NGO, our cybersecurity partner, we have created a platform.
Yeah.
And I think that is really very, very important. We have created a platform called AfriHack Box. AfriHack Box.
Okay.
Where young people can start to train and start to learn the rudiment, because it's better for us to capture them now, right, before they go rogue, right? And start to train them how to be defensive, be ethical, be professional in their hacking, right? And that platform was launched, I think, 2-3 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've written to the office of SGF, I think Georgia Kume, right? And he sent Arnold is a cybersecurity specialist, and also I think the Ministry of...
Is this the SGF you need or the ministry?
I was just trying to find, we need to do something, right?
You were saying, what did the SGF say?
No, he sent a cybersecurity specialist, Arnold, to come and commission. So they really, I mean, I think we really share the same stuff. Okay. And when it comes to Lagos too, we were able to speak to, and he actually attended, Akinyemi, Honorable Akinyemi. I'm still learning this stuff, right? Honorable Akinyemi of Ministry of Wealth Creation, because I was in Lagos State, because I was also addressing it from the fact that we need employment and we need to create wealth.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that you can actually just take one part and you start. It's holistic. You need to look at it with that kind of view.
Right.
So we'll get to know more about this app as time goes on.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, Paul, and I wish you success.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Oji, and it's really nice having you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.